Now, I want you to think for a minute. Have you ever been hurt by something that someone said? And have you ever hurt someone by something that you said? Now, isn't it powerful that when you think about when we talk to others and others talk to us, that there's something that could just in a little bit of time, just in a little bit of space and gap in our words, that we could actually take someone to the lowest points in their day and sometimes the lowest points in their life. I want to talk to you about the power of the tongue and why the Bible says the tongue is a fire, and this is a really important thing that is said in scripture, but it is true in every angle of life that the tongue can literally burn things up. And I don't care if you're in a professional environment. I don't care if you're in a relationship. I don't care if you're in a athletic situation, you're trying to work with a team. Anytime you're dealing with people and it involves talking, communicating, all of these things can just literally actually bring things to its lowest point if you allow it to. And this is why we have to be conscious of what is actually going on. When we say the tongue, we're really talking about communication. In fact, we could still say that someone who could not speak, but they can write, or someone who uses their demeanor or their face is still using the tongue. The tongue is a symbol of the things that we use to convey information to others. And how we convey that information is the difference between exactly what people actually feel and don't feel. And it's the difference between relationships being built or not built. And it's the difference between people either feeling good or happy or actually feeling sad and depressed. And so it is so powerful what words can do, but it is the tongue that we use to give the words. So when we understand that, then we start to, really take it to heart that this, little piece of flesh that's in our mouth is so powerful. Now, how many, things, nations even, that are at war because of something that someone said? How many times have we seen marriages destroyed because of something someone said? How many times have we seen people not get promoted on a job and move up in their career because of what something said? How many times have we seen entrepreneurs not be able to build a team, not be able to grow because of their lack of ability to know what to say? So we want to be clear. It is very important to understand how the tongue works and why it is so vital to the things that we either create to be more successful or things that we actually create to be destroyed. Now, I want to go to my whiteboard for a minute. I want you to understand something. When we think about the tongue, we got to start back a little bit further than that. And, one of the things I want you to consider is when we think about the heart, right? And, for today, I want you to consider the heart as really just your desire, what is deep inside of you, like, what is it really at the core of who you are, how you really feel on the inside, what is your true feeling about something, right? Something that's got deep in your heart, it's become a part of your makeup, part of your being. And so this is very important because a lot of times when we think about the things that we highly dwell on and the things that are deep down inside, those things that we truly constantly, eat on all the time, and it gets in our heart, right? It's in our heart how we feel about whatever that thing is. It's in our heart how we feel and our perceptions and our, insecurities, our opinions, our prejudices, whatever those things are that are down in our heart, right? It's hard to move it out. It's anchored down. These things then translate to the mind. I'm going to draw a little brain here, right? And we think about the mind. And how, inside of the brain, we've got, all these things and these thoughts that we get that come from the things that are deep inside. So when we see something and, I might see an individual and because of my heart, I start to get things in my mind. That's why some people prejudge individuals because there's something in their heart, about maybe a certain group of people or a certain type of person, or you can have something in your heart with regard to political issues or with respect to why or why not you can trust an individual, right? This hinders people's ability to build relationships because of whatever's in their heart, your background, your childhood, things that have happened to you, experiences in life. These things get deep down in our heart. And so when we get those things deep down in our heart, then whenever we see something or hear about something, the first thing that comes to our mind is things that was in our heart, our own deep, things that are, embedded into who we are. And that's why it's important, really understand that it doesn't start with the tongue. It starts with the heart. and what's inside. Now, when we think about the mind, I want you to understand from here, when you think about, and I have a little fun here for a minute, you think about an individual here. Now, think about for a moment that, once we get something in our heart, goes to our mind, right? Then we start to get to this point where we're actually starting to get something that is starting to move towards communication, right? So do it this way. So this is kind of my fun recollection of the tongue, right? So once something gets in our mind, it starts to move towards things that we will say and communicate in some way, right? And it is this communication that we will communicate, or this thing that we start to feel, that again, leads to when we talk about this fire, right? This fire that can be created, all because, right, of the things that were said. And this is why this process, I want you to understand that we know that what actually comes from this tongue, right, is going to be the difference between things that actually are profitable, right? In other words, things that add value to others and to ourselves, or things that are unprofitable, right? And it is so amazing to me how many people don't realize that the things that they say hurt other people. So the choice of words, the tone you use, when you say it, right? We have to be aware of why we have to be able to monitor when you're trying to build a relationship, when you're trying to build a team, when you're trying to build a company, when you're trying to do anything that has to do with working with other people. If you're not conscious that the tongue is something that can actually literally take someone and slam them to the ground without even realizing it, right? You didn't touch them, but it's something you said, that you can actually use words to cut people. You can actually use words to harm people. When you're not conscious that the tongue can harm, you won't be intentional about how to make sure the tongue does not harm. So we want to be really clear that we have to be more intentional about how we want to use communication. Otherwise, we will just fall back to the things that's in our heart, the things that we naturally, think about and feel. We have to have control over that by being conscious of no matter what's in my heart and how I feel, I have to still have some sort of filter that checks me before I tell you things, that I'm actually able to, make sure that I can't say everything that comes into my mind, right? Everything that comes in my mind is not everything that I can say. So let me show you this again, going back to the whiteboard, so we can see the foundation of all of this started here with who I am, my makeup, how I think, what's in my heart. That leads to my mind and my thoughts. And that's when I end up saying something that I either will be happy about or I'll regret. So the key is we want to create some sort of filter here, right? That when those thoughts come from our mind, which all came back from who we are, right? What's made us up, things we've been through. But we have to have a filter here. And this filter is wisdom. And you start to learn experiences that when I said this is the result that happened before. When I said it this way, this is how it made someone feel. When I said it at this time, this is what came from that and caused all of these problems. So at some point, we have to start taking these experiences, and it's the person who doesn't realize the outcome of their communication that never learns from their communication. So they spend all their time wondering what's wrong with everybody and why some people don't hear them and believe in them and listen to them, not realizing that there's a pattern of behavior that they have that is keeping people feeling a certain way because they always communicate in a way that is absence of really understanding the outcome of the way they talk to others. So I want you to really get this, right? I want you to really get this. You have to be conscious of the outcome of the things that you say. You have to be conscious of the end product of the things that you actually communicate. Because when you don't evaluate the result of what you say, then you don't make the connection between the things you say and the outcome that it produces, so you can never change the things that you say to get the outcome that you want. If you want to change the outcome, you got to change what you're saying. And sometimes, because you can't really change who you are just yet, sometimes you can still change what you're saying. And when you change what you're saying, then you'll start learning that there's a benefit, right, from saying it that way to get you a better outcome. And sometimes through that whole exercise, you'll even start to change who you are, because you start to understand the benefit of that communication might have a deeper understanding in it that you might can use to help guide and support your life. And so I hope you see, let's go back to the whiteboard one more time. I hope you can see here that we can start with having a filter, right? Having a filter to control what we actually say to prevent the fire that it can create. And eventually we can work backwards to change what we're thinking about, because we're changing who we are. But it all starts with first stopping the damage, and then we can start working on building the person. So this is, again, once you get conscious of this, you'll learn how to do this. But we know the end result, you're going to always do what you are. And so we want to evaluate, what has our background done to us? What has our experiences in life done to us? Why do we think the way that we do? And is there anything we need to reconsider so that we can talk in a better way to get better results for all those that surround us and be more successful in all that we do? And so I want you to keep that in mind and make sure with this whole, understanding on communication, we can still do the CEO aspect of everything and taking charge and taking action by talking in a way that is encouraging and is forward thinking and is action oriented. We can keep expanding because we're going to keep talking about things that help us to grow, not limiting ourselves, not saying things that limit ourselves. So we burn our own future down with our own tongue by always talking about what we can't do, right? And then we're going to overcome things by being willing to sometimes resist that feeling to say what comes in our mind before we actually consider the result of that thing that we might say. And when we do that, there's a sense of overcome that allows us to overcome the obstacles to getting the true results that communication can bring us when we do it right. I'm Mike Lee Parker. Until next time, do all that you can do to control your tongue. Don't let your tongue control you.